The body is a temporary thing and external to my actual self. Within the body is consciousness, which can't be explained by material theories. The nature of consciousness is different. It's not just a product of the material energy. It doesn't represent an interaction of different material forces. It's categorically different. The microphone has no consciousness. The floor has no consciousness. The walls have no consciousness. The body on its own has no consciousness. When the consciousness leaves the body, then we call it a dead body. So the consciousness is my actual self. I had a child's body, I have a young man's body, I get an old man's body, but I'm the same conscious person throughout. So consciousness is persistent or permanent, and the body is temporary. And yet, I identify myself with the temporary thing, and I forget the permanent thing. This is called Maya, or illusion. And under the influence of that Maya, I'm trying to make a permanent settlement in this world where everything is temporary. I'm working for security, for having a stable situation, but everything's unstable here. The whole place is unstable. As long as I'm here, I'm subject to disease, to old age, and finally I'm kicked out by death. And then everything I've worked for is gone. Or rather, I'm gone. And I have to leave these things behind. And what have I gained by accumulating those things, or by experiencing this and experiencing that, and going here and going there? Finally, it's all lost. And in the process of that loss, I have to go through so much trouble. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that this world is Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. Dukkalaya means a place where there are so many miseries. There are miseries from other living beings, tax collectors, insects that bite and sting. So many. There's troubles, miseries caused by the environment. It's too hot, it's too cold, there's not enough water, there are torrents of water. And there are miseries caused by my own body and my own mind. So we're always living with all three of these miseries, two of them, at least one of them, and struggling. No one wants these miseries, and yet we have to accept them. Then someone says, no, you're just looking at you're such a pessimist, you're looking at the negative side. See the positive side, what joy is there, what happiness is there, what satisfaction is there from friends and family, and work well done. Then Krishna says, Ashashvatam, even if you think, yes, it's very nice here, you can't stay. If I find a place I like, I want to stay. First thing I do if I rent an apartment, I make sure you can't kick me out. We like permanence. But even if we think that this is a very nice world, we can't stay. Now I'm an American, I have this, I have that. Then I have to leave all this behind, and where I'll go next, no one can tell me. So, an intelligent person keeps these things in mind and understands that I'm in trouble because I'm misidentifying with the body. Actually, by my nature, I'm a spiritual living being, and therefore by nature I'm blissful. By nature I'm full of knowledge. By nature I'm eternal. but I'm denying or neglecting my eternal nature to give attention to these temporary things. This is called Maya. So Krishna consciousness means to revive our spiritual consciousness, revive our eternal consciousness. The main means is this chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This mantra is a transcendental sound. Abhinnatvam nama nami. There's no difference between the sound vibration, Krishna, and the ultimate reality, the personality of Godhead, Krishna. And therefore we experience this by chanting Hare Krishna. If someone seriously takes up this process, very quickly he'll feel yes. The more I'm chanting, the more I'm getting spiritual happiness. And one can go on and on and on, chanting Hare Krishna. This is the method for the present age. One doesn't have to undergo great, troublesome austerities. One doesn't have to go to the Himalayas or live in a cave. Just take this chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kirtaniya Sadhapati. Just go on and on chanting Hare Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada said, be happy. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Chant, dance, and Prabhupada, and then hear a little philosophy. And Prabhupada said, when you get tired, take some refreshments. Nice life, no? Even materially speaking, this is happy life. We're not dependent, we don't have to spend money. If you want to go to the movie, if you want to have a Netflix subscription, you have to spend money. Chanting Hare Krishna is free. And the Netflix and the other things, after a while, they become stale. But Hare Krishna never becomes stale. Pradipadam Purnamrita Sharanam. The more you chant, the more you feel like chanting. Oh, this is nice. And we have the best food. And your recreation is included in the dancing. We were at OSU and people are, all in the gymnasium, they're all on the machines and everything, treadmills. You chant and dance and you'll keep your good health. Best recreation. So even if you think materially, still it's good. But the real thing is that this is our spiritual nature. I'm a spiritual living being, and there's a supreme spiritual living being. There's an individual conscious living entity, and there's the supreme spiritual conscious entity. Maya Jakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharachana. The material nature is not working independently, randomly. Behind everything, there's a superior intelligence. Even for the road system here in Columbus, there's a lot of intelligence goes into it, where the traffic lights should go, how the curlicues should curl. So, for the orbits of the planets and so many things, there's no intelligence. So Krishna's intelligence is there. Sarva karana karanam. Everything comes from something, which comes from something, which comes from something, which comes from finally the origin. That origin is Krishna. And every one of us has a relationship with Krishna. Just as I'm sitting on the chair, so there's a relationship. The chair will hold me and I'll sit on it. So finally we're all sitting on Krishna's energy, because everything is the energy of the Supreme, the Absolute, the personality of Godhead. The air, the water, the fire, the earth. So finally we're all in touch with Krishna, but we don't see that we're in touch with Krishna. We only see grass and trees and sky. Because our vision is such, we don't see Krishna. Krishna is within every atom, between all the atoms. Krishna is everywhere, but we don't see Krishna. Alaksha sarvabhutanam antarbhihira. Krishna is within our hearts, still we don't see Krishna. That's the deficiency of our eyes. With material eyes, we don't see. And therefore we think, what is Krishna? What do I have to do with Krishna? So this deity worship is a process by which we can see Krishna. The people challenge, can you show me God? I want to see God, can you show me? Not by your process, we have a process. And if you accept this process, you'll see. The earth, for example, is Krishna, because it's the energy of Krishna. Just as someone says, can you show me the sun? Yes, you look at the sunlight, you're seeing the sun. Even if you have your back to the sun, you can see the sun by seeing the sunlight. Because the energy and the source of energy are one. So Krishna is present, Vistabhyaham Idam Krishna. He's present everywhere by his energy. And those who are perfectly self-realized, therefore can see Krishna everywhere. But we can't see Krishna, but we can see Krishna's energy. We can see earth, we can see water, we can see metal, we can see paint, we can see jewels, we can see wood. Therefore, Krishna comes in a form we can see. Krishna comes in a form we can see. Krishna comes, no, I saw you. Somebody in a shop made these forms. Yes, but Krishna agrees, yes, I'll be present. I'll be present. You make these forms according to scriptural injunction, and you'll be able to see me. Simple thing. By some process, it's just like I can see Bombay. I just turn on the computer or the television, and I can see Bombay. So you can see Krishna by some process. So this is the process, that the deity is available to our material eyes. We can only see paint, wood, metal. All right, I'll come in the form of paint, metal, wood. Some pictures there, just like there's some picture of Radha Krishna. Everyone can see. Here's our temple in Mayapur. So Mayapur is very far away on the east coast of India. But here in the room we can see Mayapur. And even Radha Madhav. So it's practical. If I were a yogi, I could directly see Mayapur from here, but I'm not that kind of yogi. But I can see, just the painting is there, and I see Mayapur, I think of Mayapur, I'm reminded of Mayapur. So when the deity is there, you can see Krishna. And by seeing Krishna, you can remember Krishna. And you can serve Krishna. What is this service? Everyone is finally a servant. The politician serves his constituency, the parents serve the children, the employee serves the boss or the business, the shopkeeper serves the customers. Everyone's serving. We serve our cats and dogs. We're always serving. No one, just as sugar, it's always sweet. Chili is always hot. Someone says this sugar is salty. That's not sugar. So the nature of sugar is that it's sweet. And the nature of the living being is that he's a servant. That's our nature. I'm serving my family, I'm serving. So, but the service I'm doing now is temporary, serving my country. I met we were in an elevator, there was a veteran. So he volunteered to, there was an elderly lady there. He said, I'll carry your bag. She said, oh, it's heavy. He said, I've carried heavier things than this. And he talked about a little bit, I'm a veteran, I've carried heavier things than this. So where did you serve? Well, I served here, I served there, Afghanistan, I served. So we're serving our country. We're serving our family. We're serving our business. But that's temporary seva, temporary service. Now I'm serving America. Next life I may serve China. Or even if you think there's no next life, my service to America will be finished. It's temporary. My service to my family will be finished. It's not eternally, they'll serve me, I'll serve them. No. Any service here won't last. But the permanent serving relationship is there with God, with Krishna. Krishna is eternal, we're eternal, and the relationship between ourselves and Krishna is eternal. What is that relationship? Service. And what is the nature of that service? It's joyful. In the material world, service is not always appreciated. We don't want to serve. To be a servant. We want to be masters. That's better, right? Give me a choice. Which would you rather be? Master or servant? Master. To be a servant is a drag. But on the spiritual platform, to be a servant is more relishable than to be the master. To be the servant is more relishable than to be the master. These two forms that were bathed and are being installed in this home are called GAUR NITAI, Chaitanya and Nityananda. And from Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. But he comes as his own devotee. He doesn't come as the supreme master. He comes as a devotee of Krishna. Why? He's thinking, as Krishna, he's thinking, what is it that these devotees find so attractive about me? What kind of pleasure are they getting from serving me? They seem to be enjoying so much serving me. What is that pleasure? I can't understand it because I'm Krishna. You know? What kind of happiness is your wife getting from serving you? You don't know because you're not her. You'd have to be in, as we say, in her shoes, in her position. Then you could understand. So Krishna, he wants to understand. That's Chaitanya. He's Krishna, and he's doing two things. One, he's tasting all these things, and simultaneously he's spreading this chanting, Hare Krishna. So doing two things at once. An external purpose to spread this Hare Krishna chanting, and internally to relish this taste of service. So when the deity is installed in our home, that's an opportunity to see them, to see Krishna, and to serve. It's not just seeing. We say, take darshan, to see. But it's not really just seeing. But we present ourselves before Krishna. How can I serve you? How can I serve you? And the concept is that when the deity is installed in the home, Now he's the proprietor. He was always the proprietor, but now he's visibly the proprietor. He's the person for whom everything is done. Because that's the eternal fact. In the home, what is it? A man's home is his castle. So we want to be the master. Is the master of the house at home? Yes, but it's not me. The master of the house is Krishna. And this deity worship confirms for us in a practical way, or implements for us in a practical way, that yes, Krishna is the master and I'm the servant. So we cook for Krishna and offer the food to Krishna, and then we take the food that's been offered to him. We chant Hare Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna. And we think that everyone and everything in the house belongs to Krishna. The stuff in the house is Krishna's stuff. The people in the house are Krishna's people. Everything is, and I'm also Krishna's person. We're all here to serve Krishna. And when you do that, then your home becomes a spiritual place. Just like our temple down by the university. If you look at it, it's really not different from the house next door. You know, the same windows, the same porch, the same gables, the same story. So why is this a temple and that's a house? Because next door, I'm the center. A man's home is his castle. And here, Krishna's the center. So that's a house and this is a temple. That's a material place, this is a spiritual place. But your home can also be a spiritual place. By following the same process. You keep the deity of Krishna at home. You hear something about Krishna from books like Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam. Chant Hare Krishna, offer food to Krishna. Be engaged in Krishna's service. Keep everything very clean for Krishna, very neat for Krishna. And think everything is for Krishna. That purifies our heart, and that gives us a practical direction in life. Actually, all we need to do is chant Hare Krishna, but to help us in chanting Hare Krishna, this deity worship system is there to engage our senses in practical activity. With your eyes you can see, with your hands you can serve, with your ears hear about something, Krishna conscious, with your nose smell the flowers and incense offered to Krishna. Tongue taste the food offered to Krishna. All the senses can be engaged. And this is the process of Krishna consciousness. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevana. Bhakti Rikshate. So today's function is for that purpose, to officially begin the service of Nitai Gaur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu. And provide such a way that the entire atmosphere becomes surcharged with Krishna consciousness. And the whole atmosphere becomes Krishna consciousness. Krishna Surya Sama Hoy Maya Maya Andakar Yaha Krishna Kaha Maya Navidakti. Krishna is like the light and Maya is like darkness. So where there's light, the darkness can't stay. So this is the process, to be always in the light of Krishna consciousness. Chant Hare Krishna, hear about Krishna, serve Krishna, and be happy. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. What are the instructions? Do I take a question or two?
Yeah. I think we can take question.
Yeah.
Consciousness. You mentioned that the consciousness, this is who we are.
But in this stage, it seems like soul is sleeping because soul is Satchitananda. But the way we behave often is so far away from Satchitananda. So it seems that we are mind. Right now, consciousness is mostly a mind. But what's
Consciousness
there?
is not the mind. Consciousness uses the mind. I say my mind. As I have a gross body, as I have like a shirt and a coat, so I have a gross body and a subtle body. Gross body is the one that you see, physical body with eyes and ears and hands and legs. And the subtle body is made of mind and intelligence and a false sense of who I am. So that's also a body, but it's subtle. So and so, this is just spooky stuff, you're just talking about some weird, subtle body. No, it's practical. Everyone can understand, I have a mind, I have an intelligence. If I ask you, do you have any intelligence? Will you say no? Well, but yeah, I can't see it. It's just something you believe in. I'm misusing my intelligence to deny your intelligence. That's crazy. We may not see intelligence, but intelligence is there. And you can see the evidence of intelligence. And just like things are arranged here in some practical way. That means intelligence. So intelligence is different from the gross body, but it's different from myself also. I use my intelligence to get doesn't your parents tell you, use your intelligence? Yeah, it's a tool. My intelligence. So you use your intelligence. Intelligence also changes. A child has one kind of intelligence, an adult has another kind of intelligence. But the fact of being intelligent, of having intelligence, that's permanent. So now, yeah, first I identify with my body, I say I'm American, I'm white, or then if I get past that, I start identifying with my mind. It's all about my emotions, it's all about my feelings, it's all about my thoughts. But again, it's my. These are mine. So these are the subtle covering of the self. There's a gross covering, a subtle covering. And Krishna consciousness means to realize my permanent identity even beyond the mind and intellect.
So what's the difference between mind and the consciousness?
One is permanent. What's the difference between mind and consciousness? Mind is, this is all analyzed in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 3rd canto by Lord Kapildev in Sankhya philosophy. What are when we say mind, when we say intelligence, or when we say microphone, when we say anything, what is it? How do you define it? You define it by its functions. I could have something that looked just like this, but if it didn't amplify sound, it wouldn't be a microphone. The function of amplification, of picking up sound and sending it to, for amplification is what defines a microphone. So you can look at the functions of the mind and the intelligence. What's the mind about? So Sankhya says, functions of the mind are to accept and to reject. I'm always accepting something and rejecting something. Especially you go by a store window, ooh, I like that. But no, I don't think it's all, maybe. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. The girls, I like that boy. No, I don't think I really like him. And boys about girls, same way. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting. Flip-flop. And therefore one who's on the platform of the mind is not steady. Because what I reject today, I accept tomorrow. What I accept tomorrow, I reject the day after that. Because it's all about my sentiments, how I feel, what I think makes me happy, what I want to accept, what I want to reject. So it just flip-flops. It's not steady. Person who's just mental, you know, well, maybe, but I don't know, but I'm thinking about, but I'm not sure. I was thinking of engineering, but then sometimes I thought about majoring in English Lit. But then on the other hand, then, you know, mental, mental, mental. But intelligence is analytical. Intelligence analyzes. You know, why should I buy it? Do I need it? Can I afford it? Does it work? Is it reliable? Is it the best deal that I can get? At the end, you add up the yeses and the nos, and you come to a decision. And when you've reached that decision, that's firm. Because it's an intelligent decision. It's not just an emotional, mental, I think I like it, no, I don't like it, kind of decision. It's solid. So that's intelligence. Person who's on the platform of the mind will never make up his mind. So the intelligence has to take charge of the mind. And the intelligence and mind, properly situated, run the body. Otherwise, the body runs the intelligence. The tongue says, I want this. And then the intelligence figures out how to get it. So then the intelligence, which is meant for something higher, just becomes the servant of the senses. But the intelligence is meant for understanding spiritual realization. So one should elevate oneself by one's intelligence and not drag oneself down. That means intelligence should be used in Krishna consciousness. Anything else? Yes.
So through scriptures we understand through intelligence so many things, but we cannot remain steady in that intelligence because it is coming and going and it's very unsteady.
Therefore, what is that? Jahi Shachu. One has to samstabhyat atmanam atmana. One has to fix the intelligence by spiritual understanding. Higher than the mind is higher than the body is the mind. Higher than the mind is the intelligence. Higher than the intelligence is the self. Yo buddhe paritastu self. Therefore, by intelligence, directed by the spiritual self, one has to control the senses, and in that way make one's life successful. Is that okay? Evam buddhe param buddha samstabhyat.
Sometimes intelligence rationalizes also.
That's what intelligence does. When the intelligence is pulled down, the intelligence is busy serving my greed, my lust, my anger, my this. Then it's busy rationalizing. I want it and I find a reason why I should get it. I can't afford it. I don't really need it. I'll have to put it on my credit card and pay 32% interest. And yet my polluted intelligence tells me it's a good idea. I don't need it. I can't afford it. I'm going to have to pay crazy interest charges for it. And my intelligence says, great. An iPhone 20. Wow. So that's what happens when what is that? Indriyani Manobudhir, Indriyani Manobudhir, Asyadhisthana Muchyate. The material desires take hold of the mind and the intelligence and the senses and mess us up. So one has to purify the mind, purify the intelligence. Therefore chanting Hare Krishna. Intelligence should be used in the service of Krishna, not in the service of material desires and sense gratification. And we'll be happy. Okay?
So,
Okay. Why not?
Yes, so on the topic of the intelligence rationalizing, so in Nectar of Instruction it says that the platform that we're trying to approach is anya nindadi shunya vidam, that one's heart is devoid of the propensity of criticizing others. But sometimes people can rationalize that that is an important aspect of devotional service. So especially during this time of pandemic, we see that some people have become very enthusiastic to distribute books and to preach online, and then some other people have become, even people who have been practicing for many years have just become very enthusiastic about criticizing others. So how can we tell whether that's a rationalization of the intelligence or whether that's actually a necessary function?
How can we tell whether criticizing others is a necessary function of the intelligence or whether it's something unwanted in the heart?
Yes.
Yeah. If we're criticizing the devotees, that's not very good.
Yeah, that's happening.
That's not very good. Unless it's my duty. The spiritual master is meant for criticizing the disciples. It's good for them. Parents are meant for criticizing the children. It's good for them. The boss is meant sometimes for criticizing the work of the workers. It's good for them. But sometimes it's good. The lawyer is meant for criticizing the document and saying, no, this is not going to work. So there's criticism in the line of duty. But when it's not my duty, then why should I criticize? We criticize the materialists because it's our duty. It's not our criticism, it's Krishna's criticism. And that also is for their benefit. Not that we hate them, but we want to wake them up from a useless way of life. And we want to protect others from being misled by fools. But to criticize needlessly, and especially to criticize those who are engaged in the service of the holy name of the Lord, is not at all good. Is that okay? We should appreciate, rather. That will be the antidote for criticism is appreciation. So much to appreciate about the service.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So adding on to that, the idea of having an understanding of criticizing others, how do we have that discernment? As much as you said, a lot of this is going on right now. People are criticizing each other. And,
why right now? Always.
Yeah, always right.
If it's COVID-19, then that's our excuse for criticizing. If it's 9/11, that's our excuse for criticizing. If it's weird weather in the wrong month, that's everything's. We just need some excuse, but otherwise, those who want to criticize will always criticize, and those who want to appreciate will always, like flies, they'll land on this, they'll land on whatever's available. Not because there's this. There's always got to be something for the flies to land on. And the bees will always land on the flowers. So you have to decide whether you want to be or you want to be a fly.
So I guess that kind of tunes in. I was going to ask a further question. If we see other devotees, creating offenses and criticizing others, usually a bee doesn't really tell a fly that like honey is better than what they're on. But
So that's
as
better.
bees,
You
they actually
teach by your example. Avoid criticism. You don't want to get into criticizing the critics of the criticizers. Just chant Hare Krishna and be engaged positively in Krishna consciousness. And those who are fortunate will say, hey, this is better than that. Let's do this. And then, they'll sign up with you. Last question, if you still have it.
Yeah, so when some desire comes and when you want to do something, how we understand it's really coming from the soul or it is our mind?
When a desire comes, how do we know whether it's from the soul, from the mind? So you have to be guided by Shastra, by the spiritual master, by the saintly persons. And you have to use your intelligence to follow, to discern what the Shastras are telling you, what the Guru is telling you. In general, material life should be less, and spiritual life should be more. That's the basic. Or on this, how do you tell? Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjana. If it'll help me in Krishna consciousness, good. If it'll hold me back, bad. If it's favorable for Krishna consciousness, accept it. If it's unfavorable, reject it. That's our razor. All right, let's stop here. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Abhi?